Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court with Krissy. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but grab your Kleenex. This one is serious. A suspended Atlanta police officer murdered his Lyft driver. He's going to prison. I can't imagine he will be making very many friends behind bars. Sending love to the Folks family. Court with Krissy is now in session.
A couple of things. I know y'all got y'all advocate, understanding that this case is emotionally charged. We understand that. We empathize and sympathize with both sides. However, courtroom decorum will be in full effect. When we talk about courtroom decorum, we're talking about emotions. At any point in time, if you do not feel that you can handle your emotions, you will misroll that. We're gonna ask that you step out. All right? Go ahead and get yourself together and come back in. We don't want anybody to be taken into custody for contempt. We have zero tolerance for that, or the outbursts, anything like that, we're not dealing with. We'll be taken into custody. Not saying that, the crying, we understand that, we get that. Outbursts is anything, you jump up, you make any kind of movement toward defendant, you make any kind of outburst of cussing somebody out, this shit, we're not doing that, all right? So we ask that you can't keep your composure, we ask that you step out, all right? If you have any questions, if you feel any type, actually just roll that, all right? Thank y'all.
All right, we are on the record now with 24 SC 003673 and 24 SC 003774, State of Georgia versus Koby David Jackson Minor. If we could just have appearances for the record.
Your Honor, Jim Michael for Mr. Minor.
All right, welcome, Mr. Michael.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kelsey Jones-Connor for the state.
All right, and we are here today as scheduled for a sentencing hearing. Mr. Minor having entered a negotiated change of plea to guilty to both of these indictments, the parties having presented a joint recommendation. And at this time, Ms. Connor, I'll turn it over to the state for the presentation of any evidence they believe they would like to present for this sentencing, and anyone who would like to address the court as well.
Your Honor, I believe where we left off previously was for a factual basis for each of the cases. I will begin with Mr. Minor's case that occurred on December 24th of 2023. It was on December 23rd of 2023 that a Milton police officer, Officer Dakota Sparks, was dispatched to investigate a single vehicle accident at the intersection of Freemanville Road and Providence Road. Upon arrival, Officer Sparks approached the vehicle that was stopped on the roadway southwest of the intersection, and the driver of that vehicle, Mr. Koby Minor, was conscious and breathing but appeared confused. Officer Sparks at that point asked Mr. Minor if he was okay and to exit the vehicle. He requested that Officer Sparks cut away the driver's curtain airbag so that he could step out of the vehicle. When she did so and Mr. Minor stepped out of the vehicle, he stumbled a few times and struggled to keep his balance without assistance. A uniform traffic citation fell out of the vehicle as Mr. Minor stepped out. When he was questioned about it, he stated that it was from an accident that had occurred not even an hour prior. When asked how the current accident had occurred, Mr. Minor stated that he was going around the roundabout when in actuality he went straight through the roundabout, uprooting and damaging the roundabout directional sign, breaking the cement curb around the foliage and in the center of the roundabout, and displacing soil and other foliage. At a subsequent point, Mr. Minor consented to a search of his duffel bag to locate a firearm that he informed police officers he did have as an off-duty City of Atlanta police officer at the time. While searching that bag, Officer Sparks, observed several light green rectangular shaped pills labeled S93 scattered throughout the duffel bag. When questioned about the pills, Mr. Minor stated that they were Xanax. Officer Sparks began to conduct a full search of the vehicle, locating 2.5 more pills of the same nature in the floorboard next to the driver's seat. Officer Sparks at that time then placed Mr. Minor under arrest, and upon search of his person, located 1.5 more of the same pills that were located in his front right pocket. In regards to 24 SC 003774, It was on May 15th, 2024, at approximately 38 minutes past midnight, where at that time, suspended Atlanta police officer Koby Minor fatally shot a Lyft rideshare driver, aspiring boxer, Mr. Reginald Folks, Reginald Folks, Folks, twice in the back of the head, as the former Mr. Folks sat in the back seat, or excuse me, Mr. Minor sat in the back seat of Mr. Folks's vehicle during a routine passenger pickup and transport facilitated through the rideshare platform. The murder occurred at the intersection of Stonewall Tell Road and South Fulton Parkway in Union City, which is located in Fulton County, as well as the previous location of Mr. Minor's 2023 December case. That location with Stonewall Tell Road and South Fulton Parkway in Union City was only a 5-minute drive from the location where Mr. Folks was originally picked up, which was near that location being the home of another Atlanta police officer, Carlos King. Officer King, along with Officer Charles Watson, had fraternized with Mr. Minor earlier that evening at Mr. King's house, and it was during their time together that Mr. Minor abruptly got up to leave the location. He had originally came to that location driven by Officer Watson. However, he left out of the home without announcing why or what was happening. He called for an Uber Lyft driver, at which time Mr. Folks, in the operation of the business he was conducting, went to pick up Mr. Minor. Now, Mr. Minor at the time was under suspension from that previous incident in his other case. And one moment. He was last seen by Officer Watson as he left the location in his own vehicle in the street, getting into the vehicle identified as belonging to Mr. Folks, that Uber ride drive where he was. Now, officers then responded to that location. When they responded to that location, after 911 was called, they came encounter with Mr. Minor. And it was at this time that they figured out that Mr. Minor had initially called 911 at 0039 hours. He immediately identified himself by his radio number and his agency, and next provided the information that he had just shot someone at that very intersection. When officers located him on the scene, he was still in possession of the firearm that led and was used in the homicide of Mr. Folks. Mr. Watson was placed under arrest, and Mr. Minor was also interviewed. During his interview, he did admit to shooting Mr. Folks. He provided numerous reasons as to what he was thinking at the time, mostly going to paranoia. Officers were able to look at phone records, speak to witnesses, and ascertain that it was indeed Mr. Minor who fired the fatal shots into Mr. Folks that evening in his vehicle, that it was done so solely by Mr. Minor, and the firearm that he was still in possession of at the time of his arrest was indeed the firearm responsible. Now, Your Honor, you see various members, friends, family members of the Folks family here today. I ask that you hear from 3 members of Mr. Folks's family before we turn it over to the court. I would like to start by calling up Miss Alexis Matthews, and she is a cousin of Mr. Folks. And where would you like her to stand?
Ms. Mathis, you can come to the podium. You can stand there wherever you're more comfortable. And I would ask if you could just begin by stating your name for the record and spelling that. And then if you could just, you can have the floor to tell me anything you think I should know about this case or what Mr. Folk meant to you, and direct those comments towards me.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm just gonna read my statement. My name is Alexis Mathias, ALEXIS MATHIAS, first cousin of Reginald Folks. Our mothers, our sisters, raised together. On the day Reggie was stolen from us, I was spiraling and desperately needed to ground myself in something. I went back to an old but familiar outlet of mine with the idea that if I had a moment to speak to the courts of the person who killed him, or those with the difficult task of judging if he should ever be free again or not, that I would take the opportunity. I would share my raw emotions through writing, and what I wrote has not been touched since that day. Here it is. May 15th, 2024, 6:42 p.m. I wrote this on the day that Reggie was killed because I wanted my raw thoughts and feelings to translate as best as possible just for this day. I'm not here to tell you what you took from us. Everybody sees what was taken from us. I hope you see Reggie's face in the faces of everyone here. I hope you see his face every day. I hope it haunts you. I wanted to try my best at describing an indescribable feeling, the one that has my heart feeling like it could beat out of my chest and stop all at the same time. The shallow breaths, the cold touch of my skin because it feels like all the blood has left my body, the shaking from my reality being shattered, the teary-eyed, blurry vision, an ever-growing knot in my throat. Agony. The first definition is extreme physical or mental suffering. Even knowing what agony is, the definition hits harder. And even this doesn't feel like enough to describe what my family is experiencing. The one thing I do know is that I hope you feel agony for every second of the rest of your life. The second definition of agony is the final stages of a difficult or painful death. His agony. I'm not that much into coincidences, and I don't think that this word immediately popping up into my head is one. When I read this, I thought, did Reggie feel pain? Did he suffer? Did he know agony? And my heart was filled with enough rage that I feel I would implode. I hope every second for you feels like agony. I wondered if in this lifetime I would ever know what it feels like to lose a loved one to gun violence, if my family would become part of that unfortunate community, forever carrying the heaviness of that pain. If given the chance, would I hope for the death penalty for that person? If the state has that option? No. Will I ever forgive them? No. Forgiveness is overrated, and I don't need that to heal because there is no healing that will ever make this wound feel like it was never there. I also don't need to forgive you to continue my life. And putting those two definitions together, I don't wish you death, I wish you agony. Agony for every second of the rest of your life. Agony and the feeling that this second is worse than the last. I wish for it to never ease. I wish you nightmares every time you close your eyes. I wish for you to be haunted by this forever. I wish you nothing but the worst. I struggle with wishing your loved ones agony as they are not responsible for your actions, but I also find it hard to wish them peace. They will get to see you again, but we don't have that luxury to ever see Reggie again. I hope I hope you never see the outside of a cage. You are an animal. I hope you are treated as such, and most of all, I hope it feels like agony. Judge, we take oaths in our professions. I took one as a social worker, and he took one as a military personnel and a police officer to protect and serve. He made choices. He made many choices. He had resources, opportunities, and did not take them to make a better choice for himself. Instead, his choices led him to destroy a family, and he made the choice to end up where he is. I have lost family members. We have lost family members, and it has ruined us. But natural causes are things that we can understand better. This one we cannot understand. And I understand that you have a difficult choice. The courts have a difficult decision and choice to make. And I don't wish that on anybody. I just wish for you to hear us. Reggie was my twin. He was my protector. We have values of protecting our family, and we live and stand by that. I no longer have an older cousin to watch over me and protect me. His laugh could heal a room. He made you always understand that he loved you and cared for you, and that every bad day was just a lesson to learn of how to make your life better. He never gave up. He always supported people. He always supported his families. I no longer have my protector. I no longer have my twin. His brother cannot be here with us today. And that is my baby, and that is my protector. And I felt necessary to stand here and represent my family and all of our cousins today. Please, please hear us. Please see us. And please help us close this chapter. Thank you for hearing me today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, next I would ask to hear from Reginald's mother, Ms. Marshall Folks.
Good afternoon, Judge. My name is Marshall Folks, Marchelle Folks, F as in Frank, OLKS. And I am the mother of the murdered victim, Reginald Thomas Folks. First of all, I can't believe I'm in this court addressing all of you and Koby Minor, because he deliberately, cold-heartedly killed my son. I can't even express myself fully how I feel, because I have experienced so many emotions within these 510 days since my son took his last breath because of him. If I sound angry and bitter, it's because I am. Reggie was my firstborn. And because I've experienced him growing inside of me, and I sacrificed everything so I could keep him healthy, safe, and happy. He was just so much a part of me. And there are lots of times when he was sick, so was I. When things were out of order, I knew it. Although Atlanta became his home, mother's intuition is real. So if I'm not whole, it's because I am not. Not saying Reggie was a perfect child, but he was always happy, confident, and he grew up to be a wonderful young man. We brought him up in church. We tried to do the right things, give him the right values to be, just to be a young contributing adult in this world. He was curious, talkative, respectful, helpful, and loving, the life of the party. The person you can depend on, and he will give you this last. He kept his word even if it was a hardship to keep it. He was always encouraging and positive, although his situation may have been bleak. So it seems like he took some, sorry. So if it seems like Koby took some joy from me in the world, he did. Reggie was a hard worker, always gave 150% and his best. Was important to him to prove to himself that he could be successful. Whether it was t-ball, basketball, dancing, rapping, singing, cooking, and wrestling. He was an entertainer. He lived to make people laugh and enjoy themselves. He was extremely active and enjoyed life. But because of Koby, the family, friends, and acquaintances, we lost that when he was killed. We're a close family, as my niece said. Love comes first. The person who's hurt most, other than me and my husband, the most, I'm going to say, is my son, Justin. He's probably most affected than anybody else because Reggie was his best friend. And he's been so crushed through this. And he finally, although he's 32 years old, he finally started healing. And he could not attempt to come here, although he did leave a letter. Watching Justin and my husband struggle through this tragedy has been extremely difficult and has changed our lives forever. Our family circle has been broken and the devastation lives on. If we seem heartbroken, it is because we are. I understand Koby is an ex-Marine, a symbol of honor and loyalty sworn to protect this United States, an ex-police officer sworn to protect everyone. But how can you cowardly execute in the back of his head, an unarmed, hardworking Black man whom he hired to drive him home? I question his character. I question his mindset at the time of this murder. I question the character of the police officers whose house he came from. Does he think that he can get away with this? Does he deserve to take another breath? Because my son can't because of him. He took away one of the greatest gifts from God, and I cannot forgive him at this time. He took away an opportunity of my hearing my son's hearty laugh, his smile, feeling his hug, ever getting married, future children, enjoying his stories, watching him and his brother together, along with the joy that was associated with him. I trusted God through this whole process, this whole nightmare, because I didn't have the strength to go on without him. Sometimes getting out of bed, that was like ridiculous. I couldn't do it. But even to breathe the next moment and take care of myself and others, this tragedy is crippling. I thank God I get a chance to be here today. And I thank God for being able to share my feelings. And I also thank God for giving us my son and experiencing all the good things that we did along. But I hate being here for this. I trust that he will never forget that night and that our words today, play repeatedly in his mind in the remaining days of his life. So, to you, Judge, you have heard my statement and a little bit about how the execution of my son has affected us, and a little bit more about who he was. I ask you, because of his low disregard to human life, to please do not ever release him early, or even or ever to put somebody else's person or family that let them have the experience to feel the same ordeal. And let us have justice for our son, Reginald Thomas Folks. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here.
Thank you, Mrs. Folks. Lastly, Your Honor, we ask that you hear from Reginald's father, Mr. Reginald Folks Sr.
To the Honorable Judge, the court system, the parole board, the state of Georgia, and or whomever else this may concern. First and foremost, my name is Mr. Reginald Vincent Folks, and I'm the father of Mr. Reginald Thomas Folks. Thank you for not only hearing, but actually listening to what I'm about to say. I also want to thank you for allowing me to reiterate my personal heartfelt truth of what my son means to me and the heart-wrenching impact of losing him senselessly continues to have on me. From the moment Reggie was born, he had a unique shine about him. From a baby, fast forwarding to him becoming the man that he was. You see, nothing about Reginald Thomas Folks was ever ordinary. He was unique in the way he spoke, the way he laughed, the way he smiled, the way he would help and protect others, his work ethics, and his tremendous efforts in reaching his goals. No matter what may have stood in his way, my son had an extraordinary and lovable presence about him. He was not someone who would start or look for trouble, but he knew how to stand his ground when needed. Yes, there was a uniqueness about him in every way. Therefore, I must say, Reggie did not deserve to have his life taken. away in such a despicable manner. Unfortunately, the so-called man or person whose name is said to be Koby Minor, whom I refuse to address as Mr. or even capitalize any letters of his name. Although suspended, he was still an Atlanta police officer at the time he carried out the following. On Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, Koby Minor decided he would murder my son, Mr. Reginald Thomas Folks, in such a cowardly fashion by shooting him in the back of his head and neck, taking his life from him only 1 month before what would have been his 36th birthday. All because he thought my son, and I quote, was part of a gay fraternity and was trying to kidnap him, unquote. He even went on to say that he was speaking in a foreign language. Really? Reggie didn't speak in any other languages besides English. Anyone who knows Reggie knew that this story was extremely bogus right out of the gate. Evidently, that was the story that entered his mind while he was tripping on whatever he had that night. In addition, after all was said and done, I have not seen or heard this man show or express any remorse for killing Reggie at all. Now, Reggie had an incredible reach of family and friends spanning both north to south and east to west. His loss was felt expressed by everyone he ever touched, physically, mentally, and wholeheartedly. He was loved immensely. Now, unbeknownst to some, but known to many, there's an abundant amount of impact letters that have been submitted by family and friends expressing their own personal heartfelt feelings of the loss of Reggie and the impact of what Koby Minor has taken away. Whether you receive the bad news by phone, by news on TV, or from one another, and not taking anything away from anyone, I want you all to know that I was the very first person to receive the initial blow. I answered that life-changing knock at the door. On the other side was a police officer delivering a death notice. He began telling me that my son was dead. My son, Reginald Folks, was dead. After reality began to take effect and my world began to crumble, if you never lost a son or daughter in such a manner as we have, then you couldn't possibly understand. I pray that none of you ever have to experience this. Now, for Koby Minor, if he's listening or not, I have no sympathy or no respect for you. Let me tell you exactly from where my anger and fury is coming, besides from the obvious, just so it's crystal clear. Here's even more of what he's caused, taken away, and its effects. He has snatched away from us ever experiencing Reggie, who loved kids, of ever becoming a father. He has snatched away the possibility of my wife and I ever becoming grandparents to Reggie's children. He has snatched away the big brother and only sibling to our other son, Justin Folks. He has snatched away our firstborn. He has snatched away the namesake of one of Reggie's grandfathers, Mr. Thomas Scales, who, by the way, never had a son of his own. And last but not least, he has also snatched away my namesake, along with a piece of my heart. We will never get back any of these cherished moments, all because of him. Yes, I'm still devastated to this day. With all this being said, although I'm not the judge, in my personal opinion, I feel Koby Minor should be put to death for his actions. If that's not the case, I feel this man should never see the light of day outside of prison walls for the rest of his life. May he take his last and final breath in there as well. Whatever sentence Koby Minor is handed down, other than what I've mentioned, I ask that he never be granted an early release and is ordered to complete his entire sentence without any kind of parole. While he has caused such grief to our family, allowing him the chance to ever walk the streets again will be an injustice. In doing so, I believe will put other innocent families at risk of him murdering a loved one of someone else in yet another senseless act. Thank you. Again, my name is Reginald Vincent Folks, and I am the father of Mr. Reginald Thomas Folks. May he rest in paradise.
Thank you, sir.
Judge, I just want to thank Ms. Matthias, Mrs. Folks, and Mr. Folks for speaking on behalf of the life of Reginald Thomas Folks. We are here today not because this is anything that I would expect them to be happy with. It will never bring back their child, their cousin, their brother. It is Mr. Minor taking responsibility for his senseless actions that night that stole a life. It is a resolution that we have come to by agreement. I want to be clear on the record that there was not a felony history for Mr. Minor, which was taken into account in the final resolution. I do thank the court from hearing from the family, hearing the facts on behalf of the state. If there's any further questions, we're happy to answer them.
If you could detail, just count by count, the recommendation from the state.
Yes, Your Honor. So for 24 SC 003673 for the first count, which is possession of a Schedule 4 substance, that is 3 years to serve. For the second count, which is the DUI, that is 12 months to serve, consecutive to count 1. For case number 24 SC 003774, count 1 has been is voluntary manslaughter, reduced to voluntary manslaughter. That sentence is 20 years to serve. Count 3, aggravated assault, would merge into count 1. And count 4, which is possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, is 5 years to serve, consecutive to count 1. That sentence to run consecutive to the previous case for a total sentence of 29 years to serve, or I guess legally put 28 years plus 12 months to serve in prison.
Thank you, Ms. Connor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Michael.
Judge, I just have a few comments that I'd like to make, and then I believe Mr. Minor would like an opportunity to briefly address the court. If I may remain seated, Your Honor. I've known Koby for about 1.5 years at this point. I met him shortly after the incident in May of 2024. As the court has heard, Koby served his country for 4 years. He was a Marine. He saw active duty in Afghanistan. He was honorably discharged. He was, at the time of his arrest, on the earlier of the 2 incidents, an active Zone 3 patrolman for the Atlanta Police Department. He had worked there for 4 years. He is college educated. And sometime towards the end of that time at the Atlanta Police Department, things started to fall apart in Koby's life mentally. He tried to kill himself on the night in December of 2023. which led to his arrest for the controlled substance and the DUI. He was placed on administrative leave, was not fired, but was asked to seek counseling and treatment, which he did on a regular basis and was in treatment at the time of this incident involving Mr. Folks. He was diagnosed with PTSD. Other diagnoses included generalized anxiety, panic disorder, major depressive disorder. He was placed on medication. He was taking his medication at the time of the second incident involving Mr. Folks. That was confirmed by the crime lab analysis that came back showing he had doxepin and hydrazine in his system. I have spoken to mental health experts throughout my time representing Koby because frankly, I wanted to get an understanding of how we got to this point. And I know this will offer no comfort to the Folks family, but it is certainly my belief that the medication that Koby was on, his voluntary consumption of alcohol and marijuana with his fellow officer or officers put him in a state where he essentially had a break with reality. And it is at that point, sadly, that he came in contact with Reginald Folks and took his life. There are a couple of pieces of evidence that I recall reviewing early on when I got access to the state's file. One was the 911 call that Koby had made. It is apparent roughly 2 minutes into that call as he's detailing what has taken place, that he recognizes what has happened. And what I mean by that is initially his description makes no sense. Mr. Folks' father referenced this idea that Koby felt that he was being kidnapped was relayed in the 911 dispatch call. And then at about the 2-minute mark, it becomes apparent to me that Koby realizes exactly what has taken place. And his tone changes, and I can hear in that call remorse, sadness, anger in himself for his behavior. He stops a passerby and asks her to also reach out to 911. He discards the weapon. When officers from Union City arrive, he gets on the ground immediately and he tells them where the gun is. And then he cooperates throughout the investigation. He gives a statement. He voluntarily consents to the withdrawal of his blood and urine for testing. I think that was done in large part because the case detective believed that Koby was on something and was trying to also get a sense as to how we got to this point. Throughout my time representing Koby, he has never once indicated to me a desire to go to trial. He has always recognized his actions. The second aspect of the evidence struck me was when I was listening to jail calls between Koby and his friend, Miss Woods, who was here today, together with a number of family and friends who were seated behind Koby. In that conversation, they were talking about a bond hearing that Koby had had. I did not represent him at that point. Bond was denied. And Koby, very matter-of-factly, said to Miss Woods, I get what I did to that family. I recognize the harm that I have caused this family. I understand why they think I'm a monster. I get why I'm being portrayed that way. And it was very matter of fact, but it was also him processing again what he had done, not justifying his behavior, not excusing his behavior, but I do think showing remorse and sadness and a strong desire to unring what had taken place. And I do think that's why it's an appropriate resolution today for him to plead to the reduced charge of voluntary manslaughter, understanding full well that he is getting the maximum custodial time for each of these charges, and understanding fully well that the Folks family never wants him to see the light of day outside of a prison. But again, he's taken responsibility as he has from the beginning. He's not hiding from his behavior. He is not putting anyone through a protracted trial. Given all that, Your Honor, I do think it's an appropriate resolution. I am asking the court to follow the plea as negotiated.
All right, thank you, Mr. Michael. And as you indicated, I'll turn to Mr. Minor and say that, sir, while you're not required to, if there is anything also that you wish to say for the record to address to anyone here, this would be your opportunity.
Yes, Your Honor. To the family of Reginald Folks, no words can express the hurt and the regret that I feel for what happened that day. I absolutely hate that Reginald inadvertently found himself in the middle of my madness. And not a day goes by that I don't think about what I did. In fact, I'm confident that my mind will forever be haunted by what happened that night. There are several things that I want to convey to you all, but to sum it up is to say this. I admit my choices and actions that day led me to taking Reginald's life. And for that, I'm truly sorry. I realize that I have no right to ask you for anything, but I ask that but I ask that you find it in your hearts to forgive me, however long that may take. That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
First, I want to thank counsel for the preparation and the work they put into presenting this today and to reaching this point. And certainly want to thank Ms. Mathis and the folks and the entire rest of those individuals here in support of Mr. Folks and everyone else who was able to be here today to show just how much this case means and the impact it had. My heart certainly goes out to the family for what is so clearly just a meaningless, cruel tragedy in every sense of that word. And I appreciate and you giving me the opportunity to learn a little bit about Mr. Folks. And from what I have heard, I think that we certainly lost just a valued person in this community, and a light went out. And I think that many of the sentiments you expressed are wholly understandable, many of them justified. And as to what the future may hold and the sentence here today, I think that you will remain having a seat at the table. From here, it goes to the hands of the parole board. And if Mr. Minor is sincere in these sentiments and continues down this path seeking redemption, I think that he'll have to prove that to you, and that you'll have the opportunity as well many years from now to make yourself heard again. And so to Mr. Minor, I would say, as I indicated, I think you've taken the first step down that road. I think you saying something today is a start, but there's a long road ahead of you. And I hope that you are sincere in the things that you said today, that you would be willing to devote essentially the rest of your life to the memory of the man whose life you took, and try to find a way to honor him both in and out of custody should that day arrive. So with that, I will, having already accepted the entry of the pleas in this case, I will impose the sentence as recommended by the parties. As I believe, Mr. Minor, you were informed during the entry of the plea, there are deadlines to file many kind of motions that would impact the final judgment in this case. We've reviewed those. You can continue to review those with counsel. And that will conclude this case. And so we'll be off the record. Thank you all.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.